Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
You are watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
Serious about business.
Welcome to another PSOJ President's Breakfast Forum, the third in the series for 2018. Business Access TV is here to bring you all the highlights. Today's theme, Disaster Risk Management for Business Continuity. I'm your host, Gareth Williams. Stay with us.
And welcome to the PSOJ's third President's Forum for 2018. We have dubbed this one the Disaster Risk Management for Business Continuity mini-seminar. Big words, big long sentence. We can't get into anything too complex this morning. At least I can't. Well, first of all, because I can't manage complex, right? I tend to try and stay with simple and direct. And in order to get across a point, I am going to stay with plan. The panelists will get into the details. If you do not plan for recovery, if you don't plan for disaster, especially when you don't have large resources, and even when you do, you are going to take a hit. You're going to take a serious hit. And this is something that we must know as individuals, as members of the business community, as governments. You can mitigate what is going to happen by anticipating it and planning for it. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's no secret that natural disasters impose remarkable losses on our nation's economy and by extension on the Caribbean's economy and development every single year. Last year's estimated total cost for the region was $215 billion US. And I'm sure the panelists will tell you all those gross and terrible details. That recovery process will go past my lifetime. So we must confess also that notwithstanding the decision from one of the most powerful people in the world that there is no such thing as climate change, the trend in natural disasters shows no decrease. And so there's an urgent need for the states and all partner organizations to make disaster preparedness and risk reduction, especially at the business level, a priority. If we're being honest with ourselves, we will admit that the campaigns leading up to the hurricane season are never really as comprehensive enough as they should be. We have silos of information, silos of planning, silos of behavior. We need to open those walls and share. And this is the other purpose of this seminar from the PSOJ's point of view. We need to establish the linkages to understand what it is we each other are doing so that we don't duplicate, and that when something happens, we know where we can get what. Okay? So that's the other theme that I would like to encourage. And I have been speaking about this and will continue to speak about participative democracy. We have a tendency to say, once we have voted, it's the state's business to take care of us. That used to happen on the plantation. We're not on the plantation anymore. We must take care of ourselves and each other. So I will continue to stress the participative nature of our activities in this country we call our own. The reality is we can't change where we live and do business, but we can adapt and plan proactively to mitigate against disaster impact.
The IMF, in its recently published book entitled Unleashing Growth and Strengthening Resilience in the Caribbean, dedicated many pages to talking about fiscal challenges in the Caribbean, coping with natural disasters. The IMF's research shows that since 1950, more than 12,000 natural disasters have been registered globally. During that same period, the Caribbean has been hit by 324 natural disasters. So you might say the 324 looks like a small number when compared with the 12,000, but the research shows that the economic impact of these 324 natural disasters in the Caribbean has been substantial, exceeding US $22 billion in constant 2009 dollars over the period 1950 to 2016, and those figures may be consistent with what you know. Contrast this 22 billion US dollars to the cost estimated at about $58 billion globally, and you get a sense of the magnitude of the vulnerability of our tourism-dependent economies in the Caribbean. So we in the Caribbean have suffered about 38% of the global damage from natural disasters. Collectively, our little islands with 42.5 million people compared with approximately 7.5 billion people in the rest of the world, and you can see that we have gotten more than our fair share of disaster. I am pleased to say that we have put in motion and are far along with our analytical work that will guide the eventual establishment of a policy framework for disaster risk financing at the national level ahead of a disaster. It will be amply consulted with local and international stakeholders. It will be based on the most recent specialized technical analysis available. In the end, what we envision is that we will have a portfolio, a suite of products for different levels of disaster, and a transparent investment plan to mitigate harm to people and damage to infrastructure. So we will continue to maintain a contingency in the budget to deal with those high-frequency events that have relatively low levels of damage. Rather than the one product that we have now, which is the CREF, that only kicks in. CREF means, catastrophic insurance that only kicks in if there's a catastrophe. We envision different market-based products with quick disbursement features. We'll utilize the market for contingency lines of credit and catastrophic.
From the PSOJ President's Breakfast Forum.
We are back with another exciting, innovative, and inspiring season.
It takes a lot of stick-to-itiveness, being consistent and persistent in whatever you're doing. That's the bottom line.
Business exists to add value to people's lives. And if we're not doing that, might as well we lock down the store and just call it a day.
It's a season 3 of Creating Wealth, Mondays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
We are serious about the business of real estate, so catch Home Sweet Home Sundays at 4:30 p.m. or if you missed it, check our website at batvja.com.
Welcome back to the PSOJ President's Breakfast Forum under the theme Disaster Risk Management for Business Continuity.
It only takes a spark, they say, to get a fire going. And I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, active or not active, the ODPEM and the Disaster Risk Management Organization of Jamaica is ready. The rain events of June 2017, March to June 2017, cost us $4 billion in loss, 0.2% of GDP. That was just rain. A trough came over us, and 0.2% of GDP was lost. Can you imagine what would happen if we had a tropical cyclone? The events in Montego Bay, November 22nd, 91.5 millimeters of rainfall occurred in 4.5 hours, flooded some 27 communities, $37 million in losses. The ODPEM continues to remain at the forefront of disaster preparedness in Jamaica and yes, in the region. Our preparedness and our preparation programs never stop. We don't wait for the 1st of June to put things in gear. They're always happening. Multiple training activities in shelter management, first aid, emergency operations, damage assessment continues. Public information is a normal part of our processes. Shelter preparations. Right now we have some 700 shelters across the island, which are all certified, equipped, management team in place, ready for the first sign of an event. When we have these events, I know people go home, they batten up, they take their precautions, they stock up. But I am not sure where we are as businesses in Jamaica. I am not sure how many businesses in Jamaica have plans in place, large or small. And let me tell you, in a former life, I was involved with occupational safety and health. And one of the things I found very disturbing is that most of the companies that had these plans were companies that were either owned by an overseas entity or traded overseas. Our local companies did not bother with it. There's no law that says that they have to have it. And they don't. Many do not have it. And so the question is, where is your alternate site for your office? What if the facility that you now occupy were to be compromised by, yes, a hurricane or an earthquake? Do you have somewhere else that you can go to and run business? How is your information system platform set up? How is it organized? Where can you replicate data from? Can you go to another site, plug and play, if your server in your physical building were to go? Ladies and gentlemen, your recovery will depend and will tell the country where we sit. We are now in the process, working alongside the UNDP, of rolling out a governance continuity plan, a continuity of governance plan. And this is the plan that deals with the macro picture of how government continues after an impact. But it cannot happen without the private sector.
So we are vulnerable to a range of hazards. You name them and we are exposed to them. We are ranked as the 3rd highest country to be exposed to more than 3 hazards across the world. And what that means to us is that we have to be prepared for all of them. Being prepared has to do with steps that we take to prevent an emergency from happening. It has to do with the steps that we take when the emergency is happening. And it also has to do with steps that we take after the emergency has occurred. And I think that is what we were looking at more this morning, the continuity of business. How does someone get their business back up and running after a major shock? And so we're saying to persons that you have to now sit, and a plan has to be put in place for that. And that plan could be one sheet of paper. Yes, it could be as simple as that. What are the things that you have that could cause your business to collapse? What are the things that you have that could impact your business adversely? And if you have identified those, can you now take steps to prevent that from happening?
So the theme of my presentation is a call for action with respect to disaster risk management for business continuity. So just to share with you some of the terminology that the Government of Canada uses: EM for emergency management, ERT for emergency response team, to get our internal teams ready and ramped up whenever there's a crisis. And we follow the Incident Command System, ICS. So with the impact of climate change, we would all agree that it is expected that every year the hurricane season is becoming more precarious. The strength and intensity of major hurricanes, as we saw in the last 2 seasons, is of grave concern to us all. We all have to contend with the unique global political climate as well, with diminishing resources and capacity limitations. So before moving to Jamaica, I worked in Colombia for 3 years as the Readiness Security Program Manager at the Embassy of Canada. Colombia has to contend with earthquakes and other types of disasters as well, criminality, etc. And during my time in Colombia in 2014, I had the great opportunity to pursue an executive education program at Harvard University's Kennedy School of Government called Leadership in Crises, taught by professors Arnold Howitt and Herman Dutch Leonard. And I brought the text today, Managing Crises, Responses to Large-Scale Emergencies. So one of the ideas I wanted to share with you is what the professors talk about, a comparison of the response modes for routine emergencies and crises emergencies. How is a crisis defined? By the scale, by the novelty of the type of crisis that we have to contend with. So if the crisis is obviously so large, we have to approach it entirely differently to deal with it effectively. So just to share with you some frames of reference for the response mode between routine and crises. So how does our situational awareness and expertise have to be for a crisis? It has to be, our expertise has to be low, but with an openness to recognizing the novelty that is necessary. Our decision-making has to be cognitively driven and analytic. Our skills required, incompletely specified, but creativity and improvisational ability are important. How about our leadership? Adaptive, comfortable sharing authority, skilled in eliciting ideas from the team, and innovative. How about our organizational structure? It has to be flattened for solution development. It has to be more hierarchical for design, hierarchical for execution. How about execution? It must be fault tolerant because solutions have been improvised and are thus not fully tested or practiced. So the professors say that, and I'll read, the ability to routinize emergency responses is an enormous organizational strength and permits responders, through experience and advanced planning, to deal quickly and effectively with a host of critical circumstances. Moreover, the ability to look ahead, to imagine future challenges, and make effective plans. We need to assemble the necessary resources, train personnel in advance of the occurrence of an emergency to transform the potential crises into a more manageable and thus routine event.
It doesn't matter if you have a small business or a big company with fare from abroad. You have to be ready. You have to be prepared. You have to plan in ahead in order to face any problem that can be caused, but it could be even a disease. Remember when Zika affected the region, the Caribbean region, also the tourism was affected. Most of our countries, almost all of the countries in the Caribbean depends on tourism, and anything can impact, any detail can impact that business. And for us that we are on the energy sector, on the oil industry, the success of the small businesses of the countries is part of our business as well. It is not, okay, it's ready. It is not only us to be ready, also our customer need to be ready, and that's one of the reasons why we are glad to share our experience here with you.
Now we'll take our final break, but don't go anywhere. We've got much more highlights right after these messages.
This is Weekend Business Report. Economic windfall, unsecured loans, alleged corruption, follows the closure. If they made this investment, brokers strive to increase revenues. He sought some answers. Financial meltdown. Here are the week's final. Here's Guard. News Roundup.
Camille, it's back to you.
That's Weekend Business Report with me, Camille Gale, Saturdays and Sundays.
We're taking you beyond our shores, across the region and around the world. Every week, BATV gives you in-depth reporting on the major stories that gripped headlines in the Caribbean and on the international scene. Join us Sundays for This Week Abroad. Business Access TV, serious about business at home and abroad.
Thanks for staying with us. And if you're just joining us, we are at the PSOJ President's Breakfast Forum under the theme Disaster Risk Management for Business Continuity. Let's join our presenter on stage.
What I'll be discussing this morning is Ray and Neviu's experience with one particular disaster event which brought home to us the importance of properly organizing and planning for any type of emergency. So it's, the experience I'll describe is not a natural disaster, but the lessons learned is applicable to any emergency events that you might face. Ray and Neviu had been operating on Spanish Town Road for several years without any significant incident. But on the 1st of December 2009, that all changed. An area that we repair barrels that we use for aging rum, at 5 o'clock, a worker in that area discovered what he thought to be a fire. Just to give you a scale of the event, we lost approximately 59,000 square feet of infrastructure. We lost our electrical grid on the compound. We lost 2 warehouses that stored over 14,000 barrels of rum, and we lost almost 1 million liters of absolute alcohol of rum of various ages. You can imagine the amount of calls that I got the night wondering if Ray and Neviu was out of business and if my friends could continue to get rum after the event. So what did we learn from that event? Although we had, or we thought we had, established emergency response plans and systems that could deal with any eventuality, when the actual emergency occurred, we found that to be not the case. There were deficiencies that were highlighted, some of which included the preparedness for the eventuality. Because we hadn't had an incident for some time, we did not put training as a priority. It is key for employees to know when an event occurs, what are the things to do automatically. We did drills, but the drills turned out to be evacuation drills. There was weakness in command and control. We didn't establish a proper incident command post from where all the directions were given at the time of the emergency. Access control was also weak. There was a point where the managing director and the prime minister themselves were next to the fire while it was going on. I don't think that is a smart thing to do, given the nature of alcohol fires. We also had identified to us weakness in our resourcing specific to the emergency. In this case, it was an alcohol fire. Specific to alcohol fires, you really need alcohol-resistant foam. You need to have copious amounts of water. We were not prepared for that. And communication, also key in the event of an emergency. Who is that single point of contact for the outside world that will get the information accurately and on time? Internal communications, are we sure that everybody who needs to respond to the emergency is getting the right message? All those things we found to be deficient. Coming out of the experience, we made several recommendations, some of which have been achieved. The key ones being the improved emergency response framework, our improvement in our disaster response plans, and the fact that we initiated business continuity, which I'll discuss shortly. It was made clear after the event that we needed to ensure that our plans conformed to the principles of emergency management, which you see there. So we had to ensure that whatever system we came up with for future eventualities addressed the mitigation of the emergency, right? Trying to prevent it in the first place, preparation of our teams, ensuring they know what to do in the event of the emergency, the actual response to the emergency, make sure that those plans are properly documented and understood, and how do we recover as quickly as possible after the event. There are several components of business continuity, as I'm sure you are aware. We have been focusing in the last several years on the emergency response component to ensure that we are as prepared as possible, both through documentation and preparation of the teams to respond to likely emergencies. As part of the Campari Group, we have the benefit of a crisis management plan, and our disaster recovery, certainly as it relates to information technology, is well advanced. Where we need to do work, and the intention is to start that in earnest by the end of this year, is the business recovery aspect. So we have done ad hoc business impact analyses, but we need to do it more comprehensively, and so we can put the complete business continuity plan together. So as soon as possible after an emergency, we can be up and running effectively.
For MSMEs that don't have the kind of resources as large businesses, such as JRA and Nevio, my advice is don't worry about that you don't have the kind of resources that larger companies have. Scale your response to the resources that you do have, but have a plan as to what to do. So, for example, you may not be able to own a generator, but you need to have a plan. What do I do if my power goes out? Can I operate my business by candlelight? Can I buy a small UPS that will help me? So those are the kinds of things. You need to think of alternatives that you can manage within your resources, but you have to have a plan. That is the first step in getting prepared for an emergency.
This time around, the theme was disaster risk management and for business continuity. Okay, and what we are trying to do, the approach that we're trying to take is to sensitize first our members and the wider community to the importance of planning. Right? We can't stop natural disasters. They're the acts of God. But what we can do is mitigate the consequences by anticipating the level of risk, anticipating the vulnerabilities, and protecting ourselves against them by preparing for them. So one of the things that the PSOJ is trying to work on with ODPM is the development of a disaster plan template, a standard plan that small businesses and medium-sized businesses can look at and fit their circumstances into it. So for the next staging of our President's Forum, we are looking at customer service promotion and forum that will deal with the elements of customer service in Jamaica. Customer service in Jamaica needs improvement. So that is an area that we are considering for the next forum.
That brings us to the end of our coverage of the PSOJ President's Breakfast Forum. Until next time, I'm Garth Williams. Stay tuned to Business Access TV, serious about business.
They say it takes a village to raise a child, but the world will one day need the leadership of that child. The time you spend with your child matters. It stimulates their minds and shapes the way they act. Talk with your children. Help them to better understand the world around them and to value what is truly precious. Above all, the most valuable gift you can give them is love. Play, talk, teach, love. Take the time. It makes all the difference. A message from the Parenting Helpline and Ad Council Jamaica.
In Jamaica Magazine, we continue to big up our country as we look ahead to Heritage Week, which is actually next week, by the way. And that's not the only thing happening in the show.
Well, they started to tell us things that we were doing and places that we were going and people that we were with, and it was just like, okay, do I know you? Well, we became very paranoid.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and one young lady tells her story of the danger she encountered online. Also, how much do you know about lupus? Get the facts from one woman living with the disease. I'm Theodore Henry. We have all that and so much more after this message. Come out and support Jamaica's Sunshine Girls as they compete in an exciting international test series. Jamaica will compete in a week of competition against Trinidad and Tobago's Calypso Girls, followed by the England Roses. The countries compete at the National Indoor Sports Centre on Arthur Wint Drive, Kingston 5. Tickets are sold online at ticketpal.com and in limited amount at the venue on match days. Feel the rhythm, catch the vibe with Jamaica's national netball team, the Sunshine Girls. Ku, part of speech, verb, origin, Jamaican, meaning look. Used in a sentence, kude, translated as look there. Ku is more of a sound than a word, but it really adds that flavor to our dialect. Kuya, kupan that. Kuyo, kupan when we put in the Saturday soup.
We want a productive Jamaica. We all are productive Jamaicans. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity is the way to go for all us Jamaicans. Small business, big business, old and young, we are tell every woman and man. We want growth and prosperity, free a better nation with a building plan. So we can build our product and sell our product and put more money in our hand. Our economy can rise to a level and build a better nation. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity.
Productivity, Pathway to Prosperity. A message brought to you by the Jamaica Productivity Center, a department of the Ministry of Labour and Social Security.
Something you might add to your Saturday soup, Irish potato. And you want it to be locally grown, not true? There is a program that is making sure more of the potatoes in your pot is produced right here on The Rock. Watch this.
We have the temperature, we have the good soil, we have experienced farmers, we have the technical staff from RADA. So we decided to, instead of we import table potato, we decided to import the seed. And that's where the program started. We go across the island in the Irish potato growing area, and we conduct what is known as potato sensitization meeting, where we give the farmers a theoretical experience of what is expected of them, how to grow, how to take care of your Irish, and the ultimate return. For this season, we have conducted 18 sensitization meetings, and over 4,000 farmers have attended these meetings.
The National Potato Program is good for the country, it's good for us. And I believe the government should continue. At the sensitization thing that I went at Christiana, it was good to know that the government was in the act of actually assisting farmers and providing a way where farmers can get loan or same way they can get potato assistance. What I get there was when the minister asks us, the farmers, say if you plant 1 acre last year, try and plant 2 acres this year in order to build Jamaica. So that is my goal.
Rather help us with seed and fertilizer. We plant whatever we get and try to take care of it with the chemicals they assist us with and the fertilizer, and with that going we get a good result.
The yield has been great, hence our life actually improved by the yield that we get. And from that crop, we are able now to purchase our own potato seeds for the spring crop.
The RADA officers tell us how to prepare land, when to start to prepare land, because the preparation is really key to this Irish potato thing, you know. So you start prepare from early, and by seeds come, all land supposed to finish plow by that, and just ready to maybe cut your drills and plant.
With land preparation, we encourage farmers to prepare the land ahead of time. We usually recommend 2 to 3 months, and in heavier soils like clay soil, we recommend like up to 4 months. Spray at least once weekly and spray preventatively. However, when the conditions become more moist, we encourage to spray at least twice per week, or the spray period becomes shorter. We encourage the farmers to scout the field twice per week at least. They can do it more, and they'll pick up on the different pests and disease. Some of the diseases that affect Irish potato would be like blight. We have early blight, that's Alternaria, and late blight, Phytophthora.
In 2008, Jamaica was producing only 30% of the Irish being consumed. Today we are producing over 90% of our national demand.
Stand up and get in the race.
I can become the master of my destiny.
Step up your stride, make we work like a harder. Do it like Veronica, more than a supper.
We can rise above the challenges and shine.
Was with passion in your heart. Make a plan and stop all the idling. You think I saw? We reach out the edging. I can, you can. Like our Olympians, every Jamaican can.
And now, flavoring today's show, a dash of heritage from the mouth of babes, reciting a piece from one of our cultural icons, Miss Lou.
Shine up your shoes, girl, brush your hair, give clothes and body plenty care. Mind your manners, don't forget, howdy and thank you, no brought no square. Howdy, how you do? Thank you, thank you. Beg your pardon, excuse me. Practice up your courtesy. Practice up your courtesy. Practice up your courtesy.
Me wings them broke, me courage fail, bad breeze blow up on me hope. Me walk out all the Chinese shop, but not a washing soap. Soap must I say, if horse face bike can't go Fairyland, if mums can't go on holiday, soap must can't take vacation. Guinea gold, gone go look for sunlight. White soap gone a Fairyland. Rainbow gone a heaven.
Down to blue soap gone on vacation.
Aki skin and ashes is me dirty clothes them only hope. For me here put to the tell Jane say they make good washing soap. She said fi make the clothes and ashes soak in the tub and rub on the aki skin. And so you rub and so you scrub. Me have to try out everything. Me can't sit down and move.
As of May 31, whenever you are making local calls, you will have to use the area code 876 before you dial the existing 7-digit numbers in your contact list. This is because Jamaica will be receiving a new area code, 658. Yes, all Little Island will now have 2 area codes, and to ensure you're calling the right person, you will have to dial 10 digits. Don't worry, if this is new to you, you still have time to get used to it, because there is a 5-month permissive dialing period where you will be constantly reminded. 10-digit dialing. Another step in making Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business.
As we mentioned at the top of the show, it's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, where Jamaicans are urged to think before clicking. Sure, the internet is a useful tool and a place where you can have fun, but it can be dangerous, and you need to be careful. Don't take my word for it though. Listen to this story.
I'm Sonia Lati, and I am a victim of cybercrime. It started when my friends and I were in school, and we all received a friend request from a weird name. We didn't know who it was at the time, but because we all got the friend request, we figured more likely it was a real person, so everybody accepted this person. Wrong move. So everything was fine in the initial stages, but maybe like a week or 2 after everybody accepted the friend request, some strange things started to happen. They would send us messages, sometimes individually, or they'd send the same message to everybody just to see what kind of different responses we would have. And it was very weird, to say the least. But then after that, it's like they upped the ante a little bit to start. Well, they started to tell us things that we were doing and places that we were going and people that we were with, and it was just like, okay, do I know you? Well, we became very paranoid. It's sensitive information that this person is telling you, it's places that you never really announce it to people that you're going here. So when you see somebody send you a message to say, oh, you're here with this person and this person, you start to look at your friends now like, it's you, I know you're playing with me. You just talk the truth and let's move on. But it wasn't any of them. When everything happened, at that time we had a lecturer who was a DSP. So we started to get advice from him, asking, what to do, and at that point he told us that the best thing to do is stay as safe as possible, and so we started to leave school extra early. But we sort of just took matters into our own hands to try and find the person ourselves. We Googled how to trace IP addresses, and that's how we found out that the person who was doing this was actually a member of the school community, or they would be attached to the school Wi-Fi at the same time that we were at school. Eventually, it stopped because we made an uproar about it in spaces where we suspected the person was. So we began to speak very loudly about it. We let them know that we would be pressing charges and we'd go out with a bag of things. We didn't know who the person was, but we figured more likely that they heard us loud and clear. To this day, we don't have a definitive answer as to who the person was. Yes, we have our suspicions. But I can't really point at somebody to say, you are the person who was doing that. And that's a little scary to me. Looking back now, I think we all would have been much better off and a lot less paranoid if we kept ourselves to ourselves and only added people on social media that you know for a fact are your friends. If somebody doesn't have a profile picture, that's probably not somebody that you want to share your information with. To everybody else, I just say be very careful on social media, because things and times have changed and there are some people out there with really malicious intent. So you just have to be very, very careful, be observant, be vigilant.
So you've seen what happens if technology is used in the wrong way. But up next, a look at the wonders it can do if used just right.
It's all around us. It influences how we work, learn, live, play, and plan for the future. GIS is the short form of Geographic Information System. It's a computer-based system built to capture, store, manipulate, analyze, manage, and display all kinds of spatial or geographical data.
In geography class in high school, persons were taught that in geography, we're able to locate where features are using coordinates. That's the basis of GIS. Knowing where these features are on the Earth's surface and being able to represent that within a computer-based environment where that is seen visually.
So it's a support tool that we use to provide additional extension to any business process.
And with this GIS technology, the government has been mapping Jamaica's course on the Information Highway. Leading that charge is the Land Information Council of Jamaica, LICJ, a mandate held since 1992.
Jamaica is considered the leading country within the English-speaking Caribbean with regards to GIS. We're able to provide direction, policy development.
In addition to coordinating the implementation of a national land information policy strategy, the LICJ has also been instrumental in developing a national GIS network. And with the foundation set, the Council is now focused on establishing and implementing a National Spatial Data Infrastructure, NSDI. Through that infrastructure, government will be able to capture, manage, maintain, integrate, discover, and distribute spatial data at all levels of society. The LICJ's mandate is executed through its secretariat, the National Spatial Data Management Division, NSDMD.
We provide a lot of technical support to all of these various government agencies that actively use GIS to carry out their mandate. We train these persons. Apart from that, we facilitate conducting GIS needs assessments.
Government is currently the largest user of geospatial and related technologies, and that usage runs throughout government. It's seen in the water sector, transport, disaster management, environment management, national security, education, health, and agriculture. But no other area has seen the proliferation of GIS technology than that of land use and development. At the Urban Development Corporation, GIS is used to streamline operations in various departments, including estate management, business development, architecture, and corporate security.
We are on the road now to our 50th anniversary, and we see GIS as being that enabling tool to provide UDC now with not just the way to make better decisions in development, but also improving UDC's image as a modern entity.
The same is true for the National Land Agency's land titling, land valuation, surveys and mapping, and estate management divisions.
A lot of the business processes that exist within the different divisions have GIS tied into it. So for example, there is no way that somebody can, at present, acquire a new certificate of title without some work happening on the GIS end.
The National Works Agency also uses GIS in project planning, land acquisition, and location analysis.
Everything that we do has a spatial component to it, and it's hard to deny that GIS is going to play a role in all of that.
Cost savings, greater efficiency, faster decision making, improved communication, and better record keeping are all derived from the use of GIS. And the private sector also has been getting in on the technology. Increasing GIS nationwide is also a focus for the LICJ and the NSDMD. To facilitate this, the government has signed an enterprise license agreement with the Environmental Research Institute. That agreement has been a game changer.
It has allowed us to be more efficient, in terms of accessing the data and using it to provide more information and to engage also with the public as well.
What it does is open up a whole new world. So there are almost no limits to what we can do with GIS and improving the way we handle our spatial data as a government.
Public awareness has also been heightened with the GIS Day during Geography Awareness in November. That observation has been staged annually since 2003. In 2017, with the LICJ celebrating 25 years groundbreaking work, there will be a two-day GIS user conference in October. The conference will focus on national security for sustainable development under the theme Geospatial Technologies, Mapping Our Way to Secure Communities. As we strive to learn more about each other and the world around us, there is no doubt that GIS is the most practical and beneficial tool in this process. As Jack Dangamond, co-founder of the Environmental Systems Research Institute, said, GIS is waking up the world to the power of geography, the science of integration, and has the framework for creating a better future. We invite you to learn more about the GIS User Conference by visiting the webpage at gisuserconferenceja.com.
Know your numbers and control the keys to a healthier heart. Know the numbers for your blood pressure, cholesterol level, blood glucose level, and your weight and body mass index. Find out the risks they represent and what you need to do to stay healthy. Talk to your doctor and start making healthy lifestyle choices to prevent a heart attack or stroke.
Now we're going to move out of the realm of technology and turn our focus on health. Specifically, a look at lupus, as it is also Lupus Awareness Month. Right now, find out more about this life-threatening illness through the eyes of someone living with the disease.
I was diagnosed with lupus in 2008, but from my own knowledge of what is happening, I must have had lupus all my life, as it were, because I've always been having symptoms. But the challenge that I had was that I was always misdiagnosed. And so that is the focus of my, the challenges in terms of, the doctors would think that I have something else and not lupus, but you'd have different symptoms. But I have systemic lupus, and lupus is not only systemic, but some persons just have what we call discord lupus or other little types, joint pains, and so on. But I have the full works. Well, I was extremely disappointed because I felt, oh my God, I have lived a good life. I have always been careful about what I eat. I've always been sure to exercise. I've used to be nice and slim and beautiful. And to hear that now I have this condition, I did not want to believe. And then it got worse after the diagnosis. You know, I had periods where I couldn't work at all. There was a 4-year period in my life that I never worked. I just couldn't work. I was just always sick. I was always in hospital. Sometimes I'm in intensive care, sometimes I am unconscious, sometimes I'm all kinds of things. So it has not been a very wonderful ride. In 2014, I became, my kidneys stopped working. So I was now in renal failure. And it means that I now have to go to dialysis. So there were days when I would just be so weak. My blood count, that's HB, would fall to a very low level. I had to get blood. I had to look at what I eat. I had to look at how much I do. I had no energy most times. I couldn't do anything. I just had to lie down in my bed. So just different things. You couldn't walk sometimes. Sometimes I can't talk clearly. Sometimes I can't see. Sometimes my hands are so sore and I can't use them. Sometimes just different things. My lungs would fail. Different things would happen. So I've been through the ropes. Mentally, it was devastating because I feel that that's not supposed to happen to me. So I went through that period. I actually went through a period of severe depression. I was just so depressed. I could not help myself. There were days I just cry and cry and cry. And part of that too is the medication that I take. Some of the steroids make you depressed. And then you look into the mirror and you look at yourself and say, who is this? I don't know you. Can I tell you, I have learned to love life and to live. And that is what is important to me. Each day counts. And I believe that I should live each day to the fullest. With lupus, there is this uncertainty. I don't know when I will be unconscious again. I don't know when I will die. But I am going to maintain the quality of life, and I'm going to have a good life, and I'm going to live. I have good family support. My husband is extremely supportive, my son. So I have them. And I have good friends. Good friends, the saying goes, good friends are better than pocket money. Then there's also the Lupus Foundation, which is important. There is a support group there. There are excellent rheumatologists there who will provide advice and help and care and just information. There's a whole host of books and tapes and all kinds of things that you can get information from. There is also the website that you can look at and get information as well. I've actually gone for job interviews and I know I don't get a job not because I'm not qualified, but because I have lupus. So employers need to understand that people living with lupus can actually contribute and, you know, make adjustments. There are days, for example, after dialysis that I will come to work a little bit late, but I will work later to make sure that the time is there. I have learned that. It has no boundaries, it has no behavior, it has no conscience, it has no purpose, it has no time. It does what it chooses to do whenever. And therefore you need to be aware of yourself and what are some of the things that are your triggers, and therefore try to manage and monitor those. You must also be mindful of the medication that you have to take and take them carefully and take them well. You should also be mindful of your appointments with your doctors and make sure that you keep those appointments. I would say to you, help is available. Find some help, find some support. Talking about it helps. Don't feel that it is you are, because you're special or you're being punished why you have lupus. But recognize that this is just another thing that could happen to anybody. Anybody, color, class, or creed, rich or poor, man or woman. There are more women with lupus than men, but men have lupus as well. And so be aware of the symptoms, get help, get treatment. Don't hide away. Don't think that people obey you, because Jamaica is famous for that. But know that this is a condition that can be controlled. It cannot be cured. It can be controlled, and you can maintain a healthy life. Seek to work, seek to be involved, do what you're doing, treat whatever is happening. If it's depression, get it treated, get treatment, get help. Help is available.
To learn more about lupus, contact the Lupus Foundation of Jamaica via their website lupusfoundationjamaica.org or 754-8458. You may also visit them at 7 Barbados Avenue, Kingston 5.
And that's it for today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. If you like the show, you can watch it again on our YouTube channel or on the JIS website. We are also on all the major social media platforms, so don't be shy. Stop by our pages and leave a comment.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.
My name is Dennis O'Brien, Chairman of Digicel. You're watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
Of Oftentimes, we see the end product of a development, from that breathtaking beachfront property to that striking single-family home, or even that majestic townhouse or apartment. But have you ever considered the process before the product? It's another week of Home Sweet Home with me, your host, Candy. Let's take you on a journey from concept to reality of a development. Hi, here from Home Sweet Home.
Hi Candy.
Hi Raymond, good to see you again.
Welcome, welcome. All right, so today we're going to go through on a little tour.
This is
This is your safety gears. Safety at all times.
Yes.
Essentially, this is our site plan.
Right.
This is the proper orientation of it.
Right.
So there's the pool right there. It's actually 1,300 square feet.
Wow, it's a good size. Raymond Grant is the project manager for this development. Now, Raymond, where exactly are we right now?
All right now, we are in the Golden Triangle, 1 Gladstone Drive, Kingston 6.
Kingston
One
6.
of the most
Sought after.
sought after areas now for apartments especially.
Now, I want to get a complete understanding of the development of a development.
Sure.
So the background process, all the legal things that you probably have to go through, give us a sense of what that's like.
So this project is called Richesse Chateau. It's a French concept, richesse meaning wealth and chateau meaning like a grand manor or a castle. So we're trying to replicate that. But before we got to that point, we had to first understand if the market could accommodate such a development, if the market has a demand based on the time period that the project would be delivered to be able to satisfy. So at the end of the project, at the very least, we would have potential purchasers who would actually purchase to make the project a reality. So the process of actually doing a development like this first starts with understanding the ability of getting a buyer who has an appreciation for the types of finishing that you're going to be putting in the market. Persons who want high quality, they tend to go for smaller complexes. So what it does is that it limits the amount of persons that are residing in that one space, because in a strata development, it's really more like a communal living. So the concept here is a communal living, but you have your own designated space.
Right.
So we went about checking out, doing our research, understanding what were persons looking for. They wanted high ceilings, they wanted 10-foot ceilings, they wanted tray ceilings, they wanted recessed lighting, they wanted audio in their ceilings, they wanted speakers to project sound down, right? In addition to that, in terms of the finishing, in terms of the type of tiles. So what we did is that we went ahead and we actually imported tiles from Spain as samples and Egypt. So what we're actually bringing on the market now is something that has never been seen before. We have the ability to scope, terms of from a pool of potential purchasers, what they want. And what we are able to do based on that is actually bring the purchaser into the process to determine the finishing that they want on the units. So it's essentially tailor-made. So what we do is maintain the quality. Even though we bring the buyer in, we maintain the quality of the product that we are putting out.
So you've obviously done your market research.
Right.
What would you say is the importance of location in the development?
One of the most important factors for a developer is, will the developer be able to connect into the central sewage system? The National Environment and Planning Agency, they regulate how the urban space is expanded, right? Location has necessary elements to it. You have to be able to provide a certain amount of parking. You have to be able to provide a certain amount of amenity space for your purchasers. For a developer to be able to maximize on his output, he has to try and find a location where he can get connection to a central sewer. Because if he's not able to connect to a central sewer, then he has to set aside additional space on the property to do an on-site sewage treatment, which requires a certain amount of space by the authorities. So that automatically reduces the amount of units that a developer can get. So the location and the ability to have the sewage in particular gives the developer better opportunity to get returns on his investment, right? So that is something that's very important, because for most of us as developers, we have to write to the National Environment and Planning Agency or the KCAC as well for them to guide us as to how many units we may get on a particular lot. Because in addition to that, there is a zoning plan that NEPA has. So in terms of what we call a habitable room ratio, that is a measurement done based on the acreage. So we go from as low as, in the more rural areas, we would say like 20 habitable rooms per acre. So that's the maximum amount of habitable rooms that you may get, on average 30. But as you get closer into the heart of the city, for example in New Kingston, you can get up to 150 habitable rooms per acre. So again, the location element is very important there.
Now, living in these modern times, what kind of considerations do you have to make when building these things?
You have to understand that the market is competitive. It's not a case where you're the only developer out there. You are putting out a product. That product has to compete with other products, so you have to ensure that your product is a step ahead, or that there's a minimum bar that you set, that you maintain that throughout the process. So in doing a development, no terrazzo. We have to go for the exquisite tiles. And even if you are doing a lower end development that caters to persons of a lower median income, you still have a minimum that you'll go.
Right.
For example, for our units, all our units are pre-fitted with services for laundry, air conditioning, and all the essential services, the cable, the internet, and so on. Every unit has access, right, to 400 gallons of water.
Okay, wow.
Right? That's run separately for them. So if for whatever reason the National Water Commission is down for a day or two, you can get that.
So this is the modern day version of a tank?
Essentially. Okay. But the tank is not as would be traditional.
Right, that's what I mean. It's not the...
It's this, guys, you would never know where it is.
So it's not the big black tank we see on
you will
top
never
of the
know
roof
where
there.
it is. And I won't tell you where it is, but it is on site, right? Okay. So we have that. Separately, standby generator. Typical of a lot of developments now, you will have a standby generator, but it only accommodates the common areas, lighting for the common areas. But in terms of our development that we're doing now, you will get a standby generator that goes into your unit and gives power to your refrigerator and power to your bedroom and so on. Just to note, as a developer, if he's going 4 stories or more, there's a new regulation now by the fire department, And that developer now has to put in a fire suppression system in order to get his plan approved. So that's like a sprinkler system. So the more you go as a developer now, the regulations will basically be adjusted, and you have to be able to stay in the know as a developer with the local authorities to ensure that you are not breaching any of the regulations that they have set up.
Wow, that's really a lot of information, but I know we have more coming, right?
Absolutely.
So stay with us, there's more Home Sweet Home after the break.
Having a corporate event, seminar, awards show, conference, product launch, workshop or expo? Business Access TV is here to showcase your event. Contact our sales department at 908-0919, 906-6357 or 908-2775 for more information. Business Access TV, serious about business.
We are back with another exciting, innovative and inspiring season.
It takes a lot of stick-to-itiveness, being consistent and persistent in whatever you're doing. That's the bottom line.
Business exists to add value to people's lives. And if we're not doing that, might as well we knock down the store and just call it a day.
It's a season 3 of Creating Wealth, Mondays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Welcome back to Home Sweet Home. We're still talking with Raymond Grant about his Gladstone Drive development and, of course, from concept to completion of this project. Now, you've touched on this a little in one of your previous answers, but I've always heard about the number of approvals you have to get before starting a development. Give us a little more about that.
It's a very complicated process, but for those of us who know and understand, you may see a development as an individual from the aspect of the construction. It may be a year, maybe 2 years, but prior to getting that construction started, there is a approvals process that starts from the developer acquires, prepares his drawings, submits them to the whichever respective local authority depending on the parish that he is in. If you are a developer doing 9 units or less, then you would just submit your plans directly to the KCAC and be approved from the KCAC only. If you're doing 10 units or more, when you submit to the KCAC, those plans are forwarded to the National Environment and Plan Agency. They're scrutinized more in terms of the process, because NEPA then in turn circulates these plans to a lot of other agencies, as much as 12 additional agencies, to assess sewage, to assess your parking, to assess your ingress egress for your cars coming in, different aspects. They go to the Mines and Geology Division to assess your rock formation. So there's a complete process that goes on for the approvals, and depending on what information you provided in your application and depending on the type of design that you have, they may require additional information, additional testing, soil tests. So a lot goes into that aspect of just that aspect of the process.
We just did the construction.
You just did the construction and think that's it. Good.
A long time coming.
And then separately and apart from that, when you actually get an approval by the local authority, you then have to assess what was approved and assess your certificate of title to see if you need to modify any of the covenants on your certificate of title. And that process is a process that goes through the Supreme Courts. And that is a minimum of 90 days by itself. When you go through that process, provided that you get approved by the courts to make changes or modifications to accommodate development, then you would go to the real estate board to get approved by the real estate board. And for us as developers, we endeavor to get approved by the real estate board because that is the time when we can actually engage purchasers and get deposits from purchasers and so on. And those deposits are protected by the act under which the real estate board operates. So in terms of that process where you have the local authorities coming up the line, essentially making sure that everything is, you know, how it is supposed to be, we come right up onto the point where we have our full set of approvals, and then we engage and get into the aspect of construction.
Based on how comprehensive that process is, it would seem that you need a lot of people, a lot of professionals here to assist with the development.
Absolutely. We start off essentially by engaging a physical planner, an urban planner, somebody who understands density, understands what we are able to get as a developer, having conducted our own market research, where sometimes we have to hire a market research firm to make that determination as to what is best for the area, what is best, what is the demand now on the market, and so on. So we have an architect that we would engage, and then we have engineers, and not just a civil engineer in terms of the design for the building, in terms of the structural integrity of the building, but we also have mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineers. They're called MEPs, that do specific designs for each building, each unit, to ensure that, for example, on the electrical engineering aspect, the loads that are being generated can be handled based on the system that is designed. So, for example, our developments bring in a certain amount of standby electricity to each unit, requires us speccing a larger grade standby generator as opposed to if we were just providing common area lighting. The electrical aspect of it is tied into the plumbing as well. So our plumbing engineer sets up that system for us, because we know that above 2 floors we are not getting more than 50 psi in terms of the water pressure for the units. So we have to have a specific system design that is able to provide a certain amount of water pressure for units as you go 3-4 floors up. So these professionals, in terms of the design aspect, they also work together to bring that design to life. Then separately and apart, we have to have our land surveyor that assesses in terms of our boundary surveys, our topographic surveys. They set up the levels in terms of how we're going to set up the floor level for the building, because the land may not be flat. And also, that surveyor does what is called a strata plan. So when the units are complete in an apartment complex, that surveyor comes in and prepares a plan to capture all those units, right? So that we can get the title splintered to generate individual titles for the new units. And that's where the attorney at law also comes in to undertake the modification process that I had mentioned earlier. So the attorney at law would undertake, of course, aspects of the acquisition of the property. And then throughout the process, in terms of the contracts with the potential purchasers, in terms of doing the strata aspect, getting the parent title splintered and so on. So we have the attorney at law engaged there. In addition to that, we also have the quantity surveyor, who is the QS, as we call him. The quantity surveyor, they assess the cost of the building in terms of blocks, sand, cement, gravel, labor materials, and all those essentials. So when the architect designs a plan, then we put that plan over to the quantity surveyor, and the quantity surveyor will say, okay, this is the cost. This is the cost to build, and it includes every nail and screw for the building. This is an example for the project that we are now of quantities for this project and what it entails. It's a huge document, and like I said, it includes all the essentials of the project. It covers every aspect from where construction is concerned. So all the costs for the project are contained in here. So this is our budget for the project. It's a process where the professionals work in stages sometimes together, and that is an essential part, because you have to get that gel in order to get that
Right.
finish. So in terms of what we have been able to achieve so far, we have a team that works on different projects on different times. So they're able now to understand, persons can engage, because when you find one issue, for example for the plumber, at times that issue is going to affect the electrician. And the solution for the plumber may also mean that the electrician is going to have to make adjustments
Right.
as well. And sometimes we have to bring our architects on site as we go through to find some solutions,
Right.
because that's really the nature of construction.
Don't go anywhere. Home Sweet Home will be right back.
Career Moves has always explored interesting careers, highlighting all you may not have known about them. This season is no different.
Coming back to Jamaica, everyone's like, Fizzy what? Fizzy who?
When you find a bright boy or girl in the class and people say, what are you going to be? The parents will say, you have to go be a doctor, you have to go be a lawyer. Nobody says you have to go be a politician.
Let me see your hands!
Tune in Tuesdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
The Good Life, your trusted source for useful health and wellness information, lifestyle tips for the mind, body, and soul. Tune in Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Welcome back to Home Sweet Home. We're still talking with Raymond Grant about his Gladstone Drive development from concept to completion.
Right.
And I now want to get into site prep. What does that involve?
Okay, the site prep is the aspect of the project where we take possession of the site to commence activities, but not the actual construction.
Right.
So what we do in that regard is we scope the site, we decide where we're going to be setting up our site office, we decide where we're going to be setting up our work amenities, right? In terms of our power supply that we may need to upgrade to accommodate the site works, water supply as well, in terms of how much we're going to need, is there a connection existing already, is it sufficient to meet the demands that we're going to have on the site. In this case, luckily, there was a 4-bedroom house that had galvanized sheets in terms of the roofing. So what we were able to do was to deconstruct the house, remove the roofing, and use that roofing to create the hoarding that's necessary to create privacy and to prevent and reduce some of the nuisance to the neighbors and so on in terms of the construction with dust and noise and so on. So we were able to utilize in terms of the deconstruction, because some persons would think that you just go and you bulldoze a house down and you go on, you know, on your merry way, but that's really not the process. So we start with deconstruction, stripping the house, getting out things that can be reused on other locations or so on. The roof, if it can be removed, remove the roof and so on. We have reused some of the burglar bars from the house on the container here. Some of the cupboards from the house we have reused. And in terms of the work amenity space, the water closets, the face basins and so on, we have reused most of those back for the workers, right? So our workers, because from time to time we have workers that come from out of town that have to sleep on site. So we ensure that they have good facilities in terms of how they operate and so on. So there's a benefit of using that process on your bottom dollar essentially. And then we set up our hoarding, simultaneously setting up our electricals In this case, we had to set up a utility pole, relocate the meter from the house, set it up on the pole, and we actually brought in the containers that we are in now, believe it or not. And this was set up from scratch, where we got this container and we set it up to operate as our office. But this is nice, right? Far side. In here. Yeah. Okay, cool. Once you have completed the deconstruction process, then we move to the demolition. The demolition process requires scoping out what you have to do, how many days is going to take, type of equipment that you're going to be needing to actually do that. Because yes, you can bring in, for example, a 950 bulldozer and you hit down the house, but then you have the foundation of the house to remove, to accommodate the new development that you're going to be putting in. So that requires the ability to scope it out, understanding what's at stake. For example, if you're bringing in trucks into a residential area to remove debris from your demolition, those trucks cannot be running at times when in the early mornings you have neighbors who are getting ready for work and so on. So we kind of set the time frame for those activities on the slower parts of the day, when the trucks can move from site down to Riverton and back again, to reduce the nuisance to the neighbors as much as possible. So we, in that demolition process, of course, we excavate the foundation of the existing property and we strip the site totally and make the site ready. So the prepping of the site essentially gets the site ready to commence construction, which would be the cutting of your foundations, right, to commence your new building.
Now, what happens when it rains? The construction has to stop, and does that affect anything that you are constructing?
It's funny you ask that question, because when we just about started, there was some heavy rains in November of 2016, and we had to basically put a hold on operations for about a week and a half. But I'm happy to say that now we're actually 2 weeks ahead of schedule.
Oh, lovely.
Right, and part of the reason for that is that we can pace ourselves based on when certain, we call it acts of God, like rain, or if there has to be an earthquake or so on, would happen. What we do is we can choose to focus on aspects of the job that do not necessarily require physical presence on the site. So you can go into more detailed planning in terms of your aspects of your engineering again, or aspects of your architecture. In terms of your finishing, you can go about ordering, doing calculations to determine how many tiles you're going to need, how many materials you're going to need to finish certain aspects of the job. So even though the site may physically come to a halt, the project is still running, essentially, right? So what we do is our schedule that we have here captures all the aspects of the activities from the site prep that we mentioned all the way down to handing over of the units.
Raymond, thank you so much for giving us a more comprehensive understanding of what goes into the construction of a development. But I know there are other processes, so we will be back to hear more from you.
Certainly.
There is still so much more to be done to this development happening here on Gladstone Drive. Until next time, I'm Candy for Home Sweet Home.
They say it takes a village to raise a child, but the world will one day need the leadership of that child. The time you spend with your child matters. It stimulates their minds and shapes the way they act. Talk with your children. Help them to better understand the world around them and to value what is truly precious. Above all, the most valuable gift you can give them is love. Play, talk, teach, love. Take the time. It makes all the difference. A message from the Parenting Helpline and Ad Council Jamaica.
I'm Adam Stewart. This is Business Access TV, serious about business.
This week abroad.
We have no plans over the next 2 years to increase taxes.
No new taxes in Trinidad and Tobago for the next 2 years.
President Nicolas Maduro on Monday relaunched the cryptocurrency.
Venezuela relaunches cryptocurrency.
The United States of America, in accordance with its obligations.
The International Court of Justice rules against the US's Iran sanctions. Hello and welcome to This Week Abroad. I'm Javon Keys. Let's go around the region. The State of the Tourism Industry Conference, SOTIC, took place last week in the Bahamas. The event saw industry stakeholders from around the world coming together to share best practices and trends. Bahamian Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis used the conference platform to argue that tourism is the region's most profitable industry, and Caribbean governments need to give more support to entrepreneurs interested in the sector.
Governments play an essential role in helping entrepreneurs to gain access to the skills and resources needed for success. If we can give birth to a generation of new entrepreneurs, we can move Caribbean tourism to greater heights and in many new directions. And one of these new directions is a greater global involvement in tourism by the people of the Caribbean.
Prime Minister Minnis also urged the stakeholders to help to create a region known for extraordinary visitor experiences and service. In other news, Prime Minister Minnis told the Bahamian Parliament that the Bahamas would be forging greater trade links with Asia through the establishment of an office in Tokyo.
November of this year, my minister with responsibility for marine will be traveling with members of the Maritime Authority to open a new office in Tokyo, and this is to assist in expanding our ship register. They are also in discussion with expanding and looking at the careers so as to penetrate the Asian market.
Guyana's President David Granger says the country has benefited greatly from over 46 years of partnership and cooperation with China.
Our two states have maintained mutually beneficial, high-level, and friendly relations for 46 years. Relations based on mutual respect, mutual non-interference in each other's internal affairs, and cooperation for mutual benefit. Relations have been cemented through continuous cooperation in culture, in defense, in education, in energy generation, in health, infrastructure, medicine, mining, and other fields.
With Guyana and China recently signing an MOU for the Belt and Roads Initiative, President Granger says he expects the relationship to further strengthen. Meanwhile, Chinese Ambassador to Guyana, Qiu Jin-chung, says the Chinese are committed to continuing their contribution to Guyana's development.
Development is a key to solving all problems. The development philosophy advocated by China is composed of openness, integration, mutual benefit, and win-win solution. The cooperation pursued by China is combined of common interest and friendship, and China will always put friendship first.
St. Lucia's Transportation Minister Guy Joseph says relief is coming for commuters who reside in distant areas who may be currently experiencing transportation issues. He says the government is looking at different solutions to service more routes.
We are looking at avenues where additional employment can be created for persons who may want to do a part-time running a bus. So you may not necessarily consider giving them a 14-seater bus with a route, But if you take the 8-seater buses, can you create subroutes? If you take from Kako down to Fonras or Tishime, coming back to Babono, if you see what has happened from Bon Séjour, from Gros-Islet to Bon Séjour, from Gros-Islet to Cap Estate, inside of Bonte and these areas, there are lots of other routes that are underserved in a lot of areas. And these are the discussions that we are having at the National Council level that would help to improve the transport system and give more reliable service.
He says factors such as the community population, the distance, safety, demand for service, and the road conditions will determine the viability of routes and the fares. No new taxes for Trinbagonians for the next 2 years. That's the word from Trinidad and Tobago's Minister of Finance, Colm Imbert. He says this is due to the fiscal consolidation measures the government has undertaken.
What we've tried to do this year is consolidate. That's why we have not increased taxes, and we have no plans over the next 2 years to increase taxes. I just want to let you know that from now, because we think we have increased taxes to the point where they're at a stable level, and there's no intention. We think it would be diminishing returns if we sought to increase individual income taxes and corporation taxes and other taxes at this point in time.
Minister Imbert says despite some of the economic issues the country has been facing, they've still managed to record growth of about 2.2%. He says to continue growing the economy, the government will have to continue to spend wisely.
And we're going to continue to have deficit budgets for the next couple of years because we need to spend money on projects, we need to spend money on programs, we need to create incentives such as the small business incentive I've just spoken about. We need to keep improving the support system for the manufacturing sector, which has grown by 7%, and I've heard disbelief about that as well, but those are the figures.
And when we come back, Venezuela relaunches its petro cryptocurrency. More TWA on the other side of this break.
Ready for cable for as little as $100? Ready for no monthly cable bill? Ready for 10 TV channels absolutely free? Then pick up our Ready TV box at authorized stores for $4,500. Hook it up to your TV set, then top it up with Ready Credit for 1, 7, or 30 days. Buy now and get $1,000 free Ready Credit and start watching your favorite shows. Pick it up, hook it up, top it up. Ready TV. Prepaid cable TV when you're ready. Now serving Kingston and St. Catherine. Limited time offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
It's not about being successful. It's about really working hard at what is before you.
All of my preconceptions about what the public sector was were all completely unfounded. We were driven to work hard and to achieve excellence in what we did.
Being in business takes backbone. It takes a lot of resolve. You're going to have roadblocks, you're going to have bumps in the road, and you have to be able to go over them.
Here I come, you can't hide.
Go for God Family Church.
Today's message is for those of you who thought that Jesus was finished.
Inspiring messages.
I'm here to tell you today that you are excellent. God is excellent.
Empowerment from biblical motivation.
To be glorified means to endow with authority. A woman is a powerful, creative being.
Join Pastor Christopher Morgan and the Go for God team as we go for God.
It's the only show that traces the steps of professionals.
From first and second form, I was involved in some club, some activity.
Then gives information on exactly how to get into that same career.
You do need a good grasp of English.
And know you can branch out into whatever area you want to.
Tune in every Tuesday at 8 p.m. for Career Moves and catch up on all our episodes at batvja.com.
with another exciting, innovative and inspiring season.
It takes a lot of stick-to-itiveness, being consistent and persistent in whatever you're doing. That's the bottom line.
Business exists to add value to people's lives. And if we're not doing that, might as well we lock down the store and just call it a day.
It's a season 3 of Creating Wealth, Mondays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Welcome back to This Week Abroad. The Venezuelan government has relaunched its cryptocurrency, the Petro. The government hopes the online currency pegged to the price of gas will help the country's economy to rebound, but not everyone believes that it will. More in this report.
Venezuela is banking on the Petro. President Nicolas Maduro on Monday relaunched the cryptocurrency. He says it will be a legal method of paying for everything from real estate to plane tickets.
We'll have about 4 weeks for people to register in the Petro system and open digital wallets.
The Petro is the first cryptocurrency to be backed by oil. To prevent it from fluctuating, the government set its value at $60. That's the price of 1 barrel. But Maduro is pegging economic recovery on a currency that crypto experts widely rate as a scam. Since it was rolled out earlier this year, it hasn't been sold on any major cryptocurrency exchange, and shops reportedly don't accept it. Those who found a way to buy it were unable to use it, like this Petro investor who didn't want to be identified.
It is a high risk. Take note that this started in February, and as of September the 8th, we've not been able to use that money that we invested. To those who are interested, my recommendation is be aware that the rules of the game are not very clear and you don't know where this might end up.
Maduro says the Petro can get around international sanctions that have prevented the government from getting the foreign capital it desperately needs. Venezuela's external debt stands at around $150 billion. The IMF expects inflation to hit 1,000,000% this year, and its industrial output has dropped to 30%, while the once booming oil sector it depends on is at a 30-year low. It pumps 1.4 million barrels a day, compared to more than 3 million 10 years ago. Caracas has repeatedly blamed the US and EU for what Maduro calls an economic war.
Yesterday, we had an attack in the early morning, as soon as this new system was put into operation. Today, the 1st of October, to show it to the country and the world. We suffer attacks, cyber attacks from the US, from France and Colombia.
Maduro remains optimistic his virtual currency will soon be immersed in the global market. But so far, Venezuelans haven't seen any sign that Petro could put an end to their economic suffering. Liz Maddock, TRT World.
And don't go away, we go further abroad in a bit, but first, here's a look at how some of the major international commodities ended trading this week. And stick around when we come back. The International Court rules against the US's Iran sanctions. International stories are next. Stay with us.
We are serious about the business of real estate, so catch Home Sweet Home Sundays at 4:30 p.m. or if you missed it, check our website at batvja.com.
We are back with another exciting, innovative and inspiring season.
It takes a lot of stick-to-itiveness, being consistent and persistent in whatever you're doing. That's the bottom line.
Business exists to add value to people's lives. And if we're not doing that, might as well we lock down the store and just call it a day.
It's a season Season 3 of Creating Wealth, Mondays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
The Good Life, your trusted source for useful health and wellness information, lifestyle tips for the mind, body, and soul. Tune in Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Have you seen it? It's BATV Live. Live streams of business news weekdays at 7:30 p.m. Stay on point Thursdays at 8 p.m. with our Business Current Affairs show and Weekend Business Report Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. wherever you are. Log on to our Facebook page at Business Access TV or visit our website at batvja.com. Live and at your fingertips. Business Access TV. Serious about business.
Welcome back to This Week Abroad. While many companies worldwide have been looking at cost-cutting measures and employee restructuring, the world's largest online vendor Amazon is giving its workers a wage increase. More in this report.
America has a problem. The divide between those with the least and those with the most is growing, and the gap is just getting wider. The economy is doing well, but wages are not rising. That statistic might soon see a bump. One of America's largest employers, Amazon, has announced that everyone who helps send these smiling boxes around the country will soon be paid more, at a minimum $15 an hour, more than double the national minimum wage.
It's not cheap. It's going to cost them $1 billion, I think, per year. It's not that they're able to raise prices or pass that through to customers. This is something their shareholders are going to fund. But I think that a lot of Amazon shareholders think this is the right thing to do.
That's what Amazon said was behind the move. It was the right thing to do. But it's also facing a lot of criticism, in large part because of its founder, Jeff Bezos. He is the richest man in the world, worth $165 billion. Breaking that down, he makes about $275 million each and every day. And Amazon is hugely profitable. In the second quarter of this year, it had a profit of $2.5 billion. So it can afford the raises. And with low unemployment, it might have to pay more to get in enough workers to move their merchandise. Still, the raise is being praised by Amazon's toughest critics.
What Mr. Bezos today has done is not only enormously important for Amazon's hundreds of thousands of employees, it could well be, and I think it will be, a shot heard around the world.
Not every economist thinks paying workers more will actually help decrease income inequality.
On the one hand, yes, workers in Amazon will benefit from this increase in basic pay, but in the longer term, Amazon is exactly the type of company which we'd imagine would invest in automation, and it'd be much more difficult for other companies, traditional retailers, to match this kind of offer.
America can often seem like two different countries, divided between the haves and have-nots. Economists will be watching to see if Amazon's move does anything to heal the divide. Patty Culhane, Al Jazeera, Washington.
The UN's International Court of Justice, ICJ, has ruled in favor of Iran regarding the U.S. imposed trade sanctions, but the U.S. is contending that the ICJ has no jurisdiction in the matter. Here's more from Al Jazeera's Zain Basravi.
In the case of Iran versus United States of America, the 15-member bench of the International Court of Justice ordered the American government to make sure that sanctions against Iran do not impact humanitarian aid or civil aviation.
The United States of America, in accordance with its obligations under the 1955 Treaty of Amity, Economic Relations and Consular Rights, shall remove, by means of its choosing, any impediments arising from the measures announced on 8 May 2018 to the free exportation to the territory of the Islamic Republic of Iran of medicines and medical devices, foodstuffs and agricultural commodities, and spare parts, equipment, and associated services, including warranty, maintenance, repair services, and inspections necessary for the safety of aviation.
Iran argued that sanctions reimposed after U.S. President Donald Trump pulled out of the 2015 nuclear deal in May violate a little-known friendship agreement that predates the 1979 Islamic Revolution. The court agreed, but didn't call for the complete lifting of sanctions, falling short of the resounding decision that Iran would have wanted. Judges did ask the U.S. not to interfere with banking transactions related to food, medicine, and air safety. But even as the judge read the ruling, its practical application remained a question mark, and any history made here by the ICJ judges is likely to be symbolic at best.
Both parties shall refrain from any action which might aggravate or extend the dispute before the court or make it more difficult to resolve.
With no policing mechanism to enforce its decision, in practical terms, the court's judgment is more recommendation than ruling. While the U.S. does not recognize the authority of ICJ judges, it did take Iran to court back in 1980, when it was still a voluntary member. In a case centered around the U.S. Embassy hostage crisis, the ICJ ruled that the Iranian government was bound to secure the immediate release of the hostages, to restore the embassy premises, and to make reparation for the injury caused to the United States government. But after the court ruled it owed Nicaragua war reparations in 1986, the United States withdrew from the court's compulsory jurisdiction.
Iran has been arguing that the approach by Americans toward Tehran has been illegitimate as well as unlawful. And by taking the case to the court against the United States, I think what Iran wants to say that is the Americans who have left the negotiating table, that is the Americans who are not observing the international law, and that is the Americans who have been ignoring the resolution by the United Nations Security Council.
On Monday, Iran and America will face each other in court again for public hearings over $2 billion in Iranian assets frozen in 2016. The latest World Court ruling may seem like a hollow victory to many in Iran struggling under the punishing strain of American sanctions. But it does help illustrate a point that leaders in Tehran are keen to make as often as possible. Given the chance, they say, America under Donald Trump does not respect international institutions. Zain Basravi, Al Jazeera, Tehran.
After more than a year of intense negotiations, the US, Canada, and Mexico have struck an agreement on the way forward regarding trade. Here's more.
A 2016 campaign promise delivered ahead of the midterm congressional elections in the United States. Donald Trump says he's negotiated a new trade accord with Mexico and now with Canada.
It will be the most advanced trade deal in the world, with ambitious provisions on the digital economy, patents, very important, financial services, and other areas where the United States has a strong competitive advantage. Mexico and Canada have agreed to strong new labor protections, environmental protections, and new protections for intellectual property. So important.
If approved, the new U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement would preserve a $1.3 trillion trading zone. U.S. dairy farmers will be able to sell more of their products in Canada. Canada gets to keep a dispute mechanism to resolve fights with the U.S. over lumber exports. And auto workers in Mexico will be paid more to produce parts for the U.S. market. That last point mattered to officials in Ottawa.
We have reached an agreement on cars and car parts, inspired by creative Canadian ideas, which, as some of you will remember, we put forward in our talks in Montreal back in January. That was a key turning point in this negotiation.
The draft treaty now heads to Parliament in Ottawa and to Congress in both Washington and Mexico City.
We will make sure it does not contravene the sovereignty of the people, and we will be guarantors of the federalist principles that maintain our republic.
Analysts say there is a reason why Canada is joining the deal now: its economic future.
What is important is that we be an attractive place for foreign companies to invest.
if they feel that their investment in Canada could be shut off in terms of its access to the U.S. market by future tariffs, they won't invest here.
Historic news.
But for now, it's worth noting these three countries have succeeded in negotiating a trade deal they can all accept. Rosalind Jordan, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Shipping is the backbone of international trade. However, there are major concerns for the industry because of the trade war between the U.S. and China. TRT World's Joel Flynn reports.
Trade is at the core of our modern economy, and some say it's hardwired into our DNA. According to the UN's latest figures, global merchandise trade is worth more than $16 trillion a year. Now, the industry at the heart of it is facing major concerns. This week, leaders from the shipping industry are meeting at the first ever Global Maritime Forum in Hong Kong.
Of particular concern for many, including Hong Kong, is a sudden spate of trade disputes, most notably between the world's two largest economies, the United States and China. A protracted trade logjam between them would undoubtedly squeeze cargo flow across seas.
The forum's report on the industry says the biggest risk comes from the trade war, and Chinese shipping firms are worried.
It's unfortunately happened, the trade war between U.S. and China, and surely for shipping business, it's not good. It's not good.
It's no coincidence this inaugural session is being held in Hong Kong. Asia accounted for 64% of world container port throughput last year, according to the UN, which also said that China is the best connected trading nation in the world. But while the threat of the trade war hangs over the maritime industry, there's still some optimism. That's because the structure of trade flow is adapting to the crisis.
Trade patterns shift, so the goods are finding new ways to move, and we are there as a global, probably the biggest global integrator of logistics. So what we see is that the trade patterns change a little bit, and we don't see the impact on the overall trade volumes.
Whenever there are disruptions, there are inefficiencies, and sometimes those can be beneficial in terms of economics.
The economics may be fundamentally realigning. Where before trade may have flowed between the US and China, now some expect a so-called regionalization to happen. That would mean shorter, more land-based routes, the type being built through China's Belt and Road projects. But it may be at the expense of the maritime industry.
Now, in a way, Trump's tariffs wake up the world, and everybody is rethinking the routes. So you see, I think, yes, maybe I don't want to say they're burying their head, but the point is they've been so helpful, but the world is going in a different direction. It's a more regional thing.
The forum's first report on the industry also highlights other big risks. Chief among them are cybersecurity threats. Fuel costs and digital technologies, it reports, offer opportunities and challenges. But whatever happens, this may well be a turning point for sea trade. Joel Flynn, TRT World, Hong Kong.
And that brings us to the end of This Week Abroad for this week. Thanks for going around the region and across the world with us. We're back next week with more regional and international business stories. But please, join us Mondays to Fridays at 7:30 p.m. right here or live on our Facebook page for BATV News. I'm Javon Keys. Please have a great week.
They say it takes a village to raise a child, but the world will one day need the leadership of that child. The time you spend with your child matters. It stimulates their minds and shapes the way they act. Talk with your children. Help them to better understand the world around them and to value what is truly precious. Above all, the most valuable gift you can give them is love. Play, talk, teach, love. Take the time. It makes all the difference. A message from the Parenting Helpline and Ad Council Jamaica.
This week on Wealth Magazine Business Access, we sit with Ricky Mahfood, Executive Chairman at Hawkeye Electronics and Security Limited. On this episode, Mahfood explains how his upbringing has impacted him as a leader and why he is so passionate about keeping commitments.
Your word is your bond, and that has been something that has driven me. If you make a commitment, honor it.
Ricky Mahfood also tells us how Hawkeye continues to revolutionize the security industry and what's next for this Jamaican company.
I'm Ricky Mahfood. I'm the Executive Chairman of Hawkeye Electronic Security Limited. Ricky Mahfood is a family man, someone who is passionate about his wife and his children, and passionate about his Lord and serving him. I can be intense at times and focused when I need something done and done properly. And maybe some people may see me as a, type A personality, very driven and so on. And I guess in a way that I am driven by what is important to me and what I believe I am called to do. So that's probably a little of who I am. I was born in Kingston in 1958. Growing up in Kingston brings back very fond memories for me. A lot of our cousins lived relatively close to us, and on the weekends we would be together playing football, riding around the neighborhood, and as we grew older, riding motorcycles and so on. So I have really good memories of those days. I attended Surbiton Prep, and then from there went to Ligonier Prep and on to Wolmer's Boys School. I entered Wolmer's in 1971, and in 72, you may not remember, but Wolmer's won the Manning Cup, the Olivia Shield, and the Walker Cup. So those are memories that are ingrained in me. Can't forget that. I left Wolmer's at the end of fourth form at 74, and our family migrated to Miami, where I completed high school and then went on and did some years in college. Leaving Jamaica and going to school in Miami was definitely an eye-opener. Because I was going to an all-boys school. Now I'm in a school with girls, no uniforms, and so on. So it was a totally different type of scenario. Fortunately, there were some Jamaicans there, and we connected with, and that kind of brought a level of stability to us. One of the things that we were not going to lose there was our identity. So during our years in Miami, we never lost our accent, and whereas rather being influenced by the people and the culture, we were the ones that were influencing those that were around us, and they started to talk like us. So while it was a shock for us in one way, it was a good learning experience for the time we were there. After leaving high school in Miami, I attended a junior college in Miami for 2 years and graduated with a degree in what's called architectural technology. I then went on to University of Florida, but kind of lost my focus on my passion for what I was doing. And after about a year and a half, I decided to just head back to Miami and start working. I did some time in sales. I did a couple of years in the restaurant business, managing an Italian restaurant and so on. And it was around that time, in '81, when I decided that it was time to come home. Working in sales, for anybody that has, it's very challenging. Sometimes it is disappointing, but I found that, in the disappointment is when I would kind of get challenged to do better and to strive and to excel. So it was a good time of learning for me, yes, interacting with customers and learning to do business, in terms of being punctual, delivering on what you promise, and so on. And in a North American market, those things are crucial. You turn up late and you're out the door. You don't deliver on time, and maybe the next order doesn't come your way. So yes, there were valuable lessons learned there, and I think those things kind of helped shape me along the way. Coming back to Jamaica in 1981, I was a young man, about 23 years old, and not quite sure what I was going to do. So I kind of tagged along with what my father was doing and worked with him, both my brother and myself. And he did a development on Shortwood Road called Woodlands. We worked with him there, and from there he did another development on Millsboro Avenue called the Pines. And again, I was there as his right hand. From there, about 1986, I branched out with my brother, and we ventured into the world of security. In 1985, beginning Ranger Security, and then in 88, stepping into the electronic security field and opening Hawkeye Electronic Security. One of the biggest challenges for me would be when you lose a member of staff in the line of duty.
Ready for cable for as little as $100? Ready for no monthly cable bill? Ready for 10 TV channels absolutely free? Then pick up our Ready TV box at authorized stores for $4,500. Hook it up to your TV set, then top it up with Ready Credit for 1, 7, or 30 days. Buy now and get $1,000 free Ready Credit and start watching your favorite shows. Pick it up, hook it up, top it up. Ready TV. Prepaid cable TV when you're ready. Now serving Kingston and St. Catherine. Limited time offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
Caring Hands Season 3 continues to effect change in a changing environment.
Many of us were raised by grandmothers, right? So, we know the wisdom that these people have.
Going beyond business.
The elite leaders of today are our leaders of tomorrow. And with the proper education, we'll have very good leadership coming from that.
That's Season 3 of Caring Hands, creating change and shaping lives, every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Business current affairs you can relate to. Frank, credible discussion. On point with Kalila Reynolds and Dennis Chung. Dissecting the issues, offering solutions to Jamaica's challenges. On point. Thursdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Having a corporate event, seminar, awards show, conference, product launch, workshop, or expo? Business Access TV is here to showcase your event. Contact our sales department at 908-0919, 906-6357, or 908-2775 for more information. Business Access TV, serious about business.
We're taking you beyond our shores, across the region and around the world. Every week, BATV gives you in-depth reporting on the major stories that gripped headlines in the Caribbean and on the international scene.
Join us Sundays for This Week Abroad.
Business Access TV, serious about business at home and abroad.
Setting up Hawkeye was challenging in a number of ways, primarily because it was a security company. You're dealing with firearms and getting permits and licenses and so on. Along with that, you're now beginning a service-related business where you're employing people and you're running a 24-hour operation. So it was a learning experience, and the learning curve for me took a little while, but once we started, going and things kind of leveled out, probably around 6 months down the road, we had a big challenge, and that was Hurricane Gilbert in September of that year, which really was something I never really even thought of happening. And with that, it caused us to have to dig deep, because when you have a natural disaster like that, people are looking for the security to be there anyway. And to be honest with you, we had a group of men back then that were amazing. They slept at the office, ate bully beef and bread, morning, noon, and night. And we did our patrols and location checks and so forth. And amazingly, none of our customers lost anything during that time with Gilbert, where there was several months where things were in shambles. For us to survive during that time, and I think coming out of that, our customers began to speak about us, and word of mouth and what have you, and the company just began to grow. And in 89 and 90, 91 going forward, the company just continued to grow and strive. So yes, it was a definitely defining moment, I believe. I would say, one of the biggest challenges for me would be when you lose a member of staff in the line of duty. Very difficult time for me, because they're part of your family, somebody you work amongst, and it's hard, very hard to deal with. But at the end of the day, you realize that it's a part of the job that we do, and you just have to kind of deal with it and move on as best as you can and offer support to those around you and to the family and so forth. When I look at where we are today, 2016, it's humbling for me, and I give God thanks very often, because as I reflect back to those early days where we had maybe initially 5 employees, and I think we started with 13 customers, to where we are today with, within the guarding side of the business and the electronics, we have about 1,800 people working with us, and we're securing over 10,000 customers. So it is a humbling thing for me. And it also is something that causes me to just reflect on the persons that are part of our team, because it's not about me. It's really about the people that are on the team with me, that do the groundwork and the support and so on, and that deliver the service. And so a big thank you goes to those that are with us, those who have been with us, and help us along the way. Security is a big issue and affects everybody. And I believe, the whole electronic security business has brought a level of affordability to the marketplace. which benefits everybody. So today, you know, somebody moving into a home, a security system is part of what they would think of having, just as they would think of having cable TV, telephone service, and what have you. Security is a part of that thought process. And because of the affordability of it, you find more and more people now are opting for that and signing up to get a system installed, to get you know, even a security system for their vehicle and what have you. So it's definitely a growing business. I think moving the company to the next level is remaining on the forefront of the available technology. From the very beginning, that was one of the things that I had my eyes on. What is out there, whether it's from Europe, North America, Asia, we must be able to offer that to our customers here. And it's something that we continue to do. We identify products and we test them, we bring them in here in our market, and when we see something that we think will work, then we introduce it to the marketplace and what have you. We, going forward, it would be much of the same, because the whole technology industry is changing. Things are just going at such a dramatic pace, where you can, you know, view cameras at your home on your smartphone. I mean, a few years ago that was not possible. So it's just keeping our fingers on the pulse of what's happening in the world of security and bringing to market those products that would fit in here with our culture, and providing the back-end support, whether it's armed response, the technical support and expertise, and so on, to give our customers what they are looking for. I think the best piece of advice would be something my father taught me many years ago growing up. And it is a quote that said, "Your word is your bond." And that has been something that has stayed with me and has driven me. It's do what you say. If you make a commitment, honor it.
The Nissan X-Trail with All-Mode I technologies. No matter what the road throws at you, your story starts here.
Weekend Business Report. Economic windfall.
Unsecured loans.
Alleged corruption.
Follows the closure. If they made this investment.
Brokers
strive to increase revenues.
He sought some answers.
Financial meltdown.
Here are the week's final. Here's Garth. News Roundup.
Camille, it's back to you.
That's Weekend Business Report with me, Camille Gale. Saturdays and Sundays.
Business current affairs you can relate to. Frank, credible discussion. On Point with Kalila Reynolds and Dennis Chung. Dissecting the issues, offering solutions to Jamaica's challenges. On Point, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Have you seen it? It's BATV Live. Live streams of business news weekdays at 7:30 p.m. Stay on point Thursdays at 8 p.m. with our Business Current Affairs show, and Weekend Business Report Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. wherever you are. Log on to our Facebook page at Business Access TV or visit our website at batvja.com. Live and at your fingertips. Business Access TV. Serious about business.
What drives me is a desire to deliver service to our customers, to come up with the systems that we think will better protect them, you know, developing security solutions. That's one of the things we do at Hawkeye. It's not a matter of just providing A, B, or C, but it's looking at what a customer needs and developing a solution that is going to meet their needs and be an affordable option for them. So that, as I said before, and just having a desire to serve and to deliver service to our customers, that is really something that drives me and pushes me every day. I think the best piece of advice would be something my father taught me many years ago growing up. And it is a quote that said, "Your word is your bond." And that has been something that has stayed with me and has driven me. It's do what you say. If you make a commitment, honor it. And going a step beyond that, as a Christian, honesty and integrity are very important for me. And it's something that I share across the board at the company, that we must always be forthright with our customers, being honest, and open, and so forth. And so being a person of integrity and delivering on what I say is very important. Some of the things that we do at Hawkeye, you know, throughout the years, we support different organizations, different charities, different homes, children homes, and so forth. And we believe this is an important part of who we are as a company in terms of giving back to the community and to the wider society. And, you know, it's something we enjoy doing. When I am able to kind of wind down a bit, I enjoy my family. One of my favorite times is when we gather around the table to have dinner. You know, I have 5 kids, so 7 of us around the table, and it's just a wonderful feeling to just look at your children around you growing up and so on. I enjoy cooking. So sometimes when I get home from work, cooking helps relieve some of the stress. And so I'll go in the kitchen and prepare something. And I also enjoy cycling. I cycle with a group of guys and girls about 3 times a week. And again, that's a really good stress reliever and a time of just social interaction and, you know, excellent exercise. My wife, Sandra, is a wonderful lady. First of all, to cope with me, because I'm not easy to be around sometimes. But she is a great wife and a great mother to our kids. We have 5 of them: Samantha, 12, Jessica, 13, Stephen, 16, Sarah, 17, and Matthew, 20. And they're wonderful children. You know, you have the usual challenges as they grow through the teenage years and what have you. So we're learning. You know, parenting is something you learn as you go along. And, you know, as Christians, the Word of God is central in our home, and we share that with them, and we try and guide them accordingly, so that their lives can be shaped by certain values, and which we believe are important for them. When you ask about wealth, what wealth means, you know, at one point I would say, you know, the typical question, the typical answer, you know, financial security. But more and more I have come to the place where wealth to me at the core is having a right relationship with God. Because everything else is meaningless if that isn't in place. So you can have financial success, you can have good health and so on, but if that relationship with God is not there, then those things are not going to add up. So to me, that would be what I would put as being wealthy, being in a right relationship with God through Jesus Christ, His Son.
With another exciting, innovative and inspiring season.
It takes a lot of stick-to-itiveness, being consistent and persistent in whatever you're doing. That's the bottom line.
Business exists to add value to people's lives. And if we're not doing that, might as well we lock down the store and just call it a day.
It's a season 3 of Creating Wealth, Mondays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
The Good Life, your trusted source for useful health and wellness information, lifestyle tips for the mind, body, and soul. Tune in Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Career Moves has always explored interesting careers, highlighting all you may not have known about them. This season is no different.
Coming back to Jamaica, everyone's like, Fizzy what? Fizzy who?
When you find a bright boy or girl in the class and people say, what are you going to be? The parents say, you have to go be a doctor, you have to go be a lawyer. Nobody says you have to go be a politician.
Let me see your hands! Tune in Tuesdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Having a corporate event, seminar, awards show, conference, product launch, workshop, or expo? Business Access TV is here to showcase your event. Contact our sales department at 908-0919, 906-6357, or 908-2775 for more information. Business Access TV, serious about business.
The business community has suffered tremendously due to extortion. Some have not just lost their businesses, their jobs, but lost their lives. This is extremely impactful to the growth of our country and to the progress of our people. We are our brother's keeper. Let's put a stop to this. No more use of force. No more use of fear. No more extortion. No more.
Hope Zoo opened its doors to the public in 1961, housing a wide range of animals.
However, the zoo took a turn for the worse. The once vibrant zoo that served as Kingston's primary family attraction was neglected. It fell into near-fatal stupor. But after years of not being cared for, the Hope Zoo was given a second chance at life and returned to its former glory, restoring the connection for family and friends to create a lifetime of memories together. Hard work, a passion for animals, and dedication is what seems to keep the zoo thriving since it was restored. Such passion was exerted when caring hands met the general manager, Rebecca Harper, whose office space, she told us, is the zoo.
So what I actually do is I ensure that all the responsibilities are done at the zoo. I also promote the zoo and the Preservation Foundation, because we're that and foremost a preservation foundation. We educate and we try and enhance Jamaicans to know about preservation, recycling, composting, but also the protection of animals. We have a slogan at the zoo, and you can see it here, love them, respect them, accept them, and protect them. And we carry that message beyond just the animals. We tell the children that they must love each other, respect each other, accept each other, and protect each other. We tell the teachers the same thing to the children. So when you learn to be with animals and respect animals, because they don't speak, so you actually have to relate to them at a completely different level. You have to watch them, you observe them, come closer, be quiet. And when you learn to be around animals, you become a more patient, respectful, calmer person when even you're dealing with humans. Funny enough, my dad used to bring me to the zoo when I was 7 years old. And I have loved this zoo all my life. Unfortunately, 7 years ago, I took my children here, and it was brown. There were hardly any animals. In fact, there was a mongoose, maybe 2 peccaries, a snake, no lions, no zebras, nothing. And my heart broke, because what I experienced with my father, I could not experience that with my children. And I used to see this place and say, but I had so many good family memories here. So when Mr. Benjamin was asked to take on the zoo, and he decided to make it his charity, so he opened the Preservation Foundation, the Hope Zoo, to protect animals. I came back here 3 years ago, and my heart was lifted. This man has transformed this zoo from barren lands to tropical forest with animals in 5 years, and I just had to be part of it.
For Rebecca, a typical day at the zoo changes every day.
I begin the morning with a walk around of the zoo to ensure everything is clean. Cleanliness is the first thing on the list, because we want to promote a clean, healthy environment, not just for the animals, but for all the Jamaicans that come here, because this is the nation's zoo. This is our zoo. And what Mr. Benjamin and the foundation is our biggest donor. And to have one person take on a responsibility like this, and I'm hoping to get the message across that we all need to take on the responsibility. Whenever you come to the zoo and you pay that entrance fee, that's your contribution to keep it open. That's you saying, thank you, I can share this with my children, I can share this with my family, and it is the nation's zoo. So my day starts with walking around, making sure the place is clean, and then I call whoever's responsible. We have zones, and so we have zone staff that are fabulous. I mean, they all have green thumbs.
The Hope Zoo is home to many species from all over the world.
We have at least 56 different types of species of animals, and they're growing. We are also the designated rescue center for wild animals in Jamaica. So inclusive of that, we have a breeding program for the Jamaica iguana, of which right here that program brought the iguana out of extinction. And it's recognized internationally in the world. I mean, we brought an actual iguana out of extinction. We're working on projects now, and we need the funding to bring the Jamaica boa out of endangered status, because unfortunately they are endangered, and the American crocodile. We actually have a rescue center that we have 3 crocodiles presently, and we're also trying to work on the conies and the giant swallowtail butterfly and hummingbirds. It changes every day because we're a rescue center, so we bring in iguanas. We've actually bred and released just about 300 iguanas into the wild with the program with NEPA. The first iguana that started the program in 1999, he's on display, and then all the baby iguanas are in the rescue center and research center. We have a lot of pigeons and owls and hawks, because unfortunately when you bait a rat, something so simple in the environment, when you give them rat poison, you want to get rid of rats in your house, so you poison your house. When that rat goes out into the wild, it doesn't die depending on the poison. It takes about 3 days. A hawk will see a weak rat, eat it, and then they'll get sick, and then we end up getting the hawk or the owl. So we get them as better as we can, and then who we can release into the wild, we do. Some have broken wings or severely damaged, so we actually keep them here and we take them under. So we're also an animal hospital and retirement home. There's no 2 zebras that look alike. They're like a human's fingerprints. The stripes of a zebra are like human fingerprints. And I believe everybody is unique as well. Even if we may look the same or we come from the same country, everybody is unique. But anybody can become an animal lover. You just have to be around them. Try not kick a dog. I know when a dog comes to you, it's not because they want to annoy you. It's because they want affection and love, or food. And just how we treat an animal, our children are the same way. When they come and want your attention, it's because they love you. You get unconditional love from an animal once they sense you love them back. And not many people can say that you can find unconditional love. And animals provide that once you really start being around them and looking at them. And that's something that we all need to learn. And it's not something you inherit, it's something you learn. And we hope that all the school children that come through this zoo and the teachers that come with them, that this is the importance of a zoo in Jamaica. That maybe if we have every child come through the zoo, our society will be kinder, more loving, patient, peaceful, and people wouldn't think that. They think, oh, it's, let's get rid of crime. How? You start with bringing them here and showing them to love them, respect them, accept them, and protect them.
Coming up on Caring Hands.
Career Moves has always explored interesting careers, highlighting all you may not have known about them. This season is no different.
Coming back to Jamaica, everyone's like, fizzy what? Fizzy who?
When you find a bright boy or girl in the class and people say, what are you going to be? The parents will say, you have to go be a doctor, you have to go be a lawyer. Nobody says you have to go be a politician.
Let me see your hands!
Tune in Tuesdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Having a corporate event, seminar, awards show, conference, products launch, workshop, or expo? Business Access TV is here to showcase your event. Contact our sales department at 908-0919, 906-6357, or 908-2775 for more information. Business Access TV, serious about business.
Caring Hands Season 3 continues to effect change in a changing environment.
Many of us were raised by grandmothers, right? So, we know the wisdom that these people have.
going beyond business.
The little leaders of today are our leaders of tomorrow. And with the proper education, we'll have very good leadership coming from that.
That's Season 3 of Caring Hands, creating change and shaping lives, every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Have you seen it? It's BATV Live. Live streams of business news weekdays at 7:30 p.m. Stay on point Thursdays at 8 p.m. with our Business Current Affairs show and Weekend Business Report Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. wherever you are. Log on to our Facebook page at Business Access TV or visit our website at batvja.com. Live and at your fingertips. Business Access TV, serious about business.
Taking care of the 60 acres of land which the Hope Zoo occupies is not necessarily an easy task, but given the work ethics of the workers, the property is well managed.
I have to say, with all organizations I have worked with, the team here, because they're not staff, they're team. The team we have here, they all love what they're doing. And not everybody can say, I have a job that I love what I'm doing. And it shows. They take pride in every flower they plant, every tree that they plant. We plant trees every week. The zookeepers, they take care of their animals. They make sure they're well fed, they're well secured, I mean, even overprotected. I'm like, can't we take the snake out today? No, he was fed. I've never been so happy in my life working here because of the fact that the team, we all love what we do, and we're very thankful that we have the zoo here so that we can have these jobs.
A zookeeper works with animals. They get to interact with certain animals here, and we do help to medicate animals. You know, if it's a small injury and we can do it, we will do it. If it's something to do with the lion, the lioness, the zebras, we don't normally do that. We'll call in a vet and he will sort it out. When I was young, like really young, my grandmom, she had 14 dogs and 11 cats. And my godmom, she owned a pet store. So working around animals, it has just been in the family and stuff like that. After I was finished with high school, I didn't know what to do, and I did a landscaping program here at Hope Zoo. It was funded by JSIF, and after that I went to the curator. I told him that I wanted to volunteer for 2 weeks, and if he likes how I work, then I want a job here, because, you know, I love animals. And it so happened that the 2 weeks turned it out into like a month, and after a month he called me in a meeting telling me that he had accepted me as a staff member. Getting a chance to work around a number of animals, it is something good. So for one, I love feeding the animals. I love getting in contact with them, you know, so that is just my thing. I do get to pet some animals, but with a lion, I know it's dangerous. If it wasn't, I wouldn't mind. I would just maybe rub him, pet him, rub his head. The close I got though was when he came up to the fence, is to blow on him because he likes that. So when you blow on him, he'll just rub his head up to the fence, and you'll see, you'll enjoy it. It's nice. When I first got here, surprisingly, I wasn't afraid of any. I always want to do the wild animals and stuff like that. So being afraid of any of them, no, I'm not afraid. Because I do have different days to work with different animals, I do train some of them, and if I'm not there to continue the training and someone else take over, when I get there, they won't be able to continue. I will have to start from day one again. For one, the animals won't do them anything at all, and we put here at Hope Zoo that you're supposed to love them, protect them, respect them, and accept them. They're wonderful, and they won't do you anything at all. Zookeeping is fun. It is overwhelming when, you know, you can hear a keeper saying, I want this for my animal, and when I do look what they want the best for their animal. So it's something good. It's something good to interact with the animals, coming together with the animal, and it's just wonderful.
Caring Hands asked Jody Ann to share her thoughts on animal cruelty.
Cruelty to animals, I just think that there should be a law, you know, lock them up. It's as easy as that. Persons do it with a crocodile. And this is one thing that they don't know. A crocodile will not harm you unless you trouble it, unless it feels threatened. That's the only way a crocodile would harm you, right? And I'm very, very happy that some persons from NEPA and UDC, they told me that, you know, if they see you abusing the crocodile, or if you have a crocodile at home, you know, without permission and any of that, that you will be fined up to $500 or more, $1,000, or you can get up to 1 year in prison, and that is good. I like that part of it. The animal that I want to see here is a mandrill and a giraffe.
Coming up on Caring Hands.
Ready for cable for as little as $100? Ready for no monthly cable bill? Ready for 10 TV channels absolutely free? Then pick up our Ready TV box at authorized stores for $4,500. Hook it up to your TV set, then top it up with Ready Credit for 1, 7, or 30 days. Buy now and get $1,000 free Ready Credit and start watching your favorite shows. Pick it up, hook it up, top it up. Ready TV, prepaid cable TV when you're ready. Now serving Kingston and St. Catherine. Limited time offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
This is Weekend Business Report. Economic windfall,
unsecured loans,
alleged corruption,
follows the closure. If they made this investment,
brokers
strive to increase revenues.
He sought some answers.
Financial meltdown.
Here are the week's final. Here's Gar. News Roundup.
Camille, it's back to you.
That's Weekend Business Report with me, Keneal Gale, Saturdays and Sundays.
There's only one recommendation for funding that is ever going to come from me, and that is funding from a bank.
This is the cost to build, and it includes every nail and screw for the building.
Our motto is building communities, building a nation.
Get in the know with the world of real estate with Business Access TV's Home Sweet Home, Sundays at 4:30 p.m.
Business current affairs you can relate to. Frank, credible discussion. On point with Kalila Reynolds and Dennis Chung. Dissecting the issues, offering solutions to Jamaica's challenges. On point. Thursdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
This is Saddam Quarry, another one of several zookeepers at the Nation Zoo.
I started off when I was about 17. I did job experience here for 1.5 weeks in animal care and also 1.5 weeks in plants. After doing my job experience, I decided that I will apply for a job up here. So, because I've been doing very well here, so I wanted to see how it really felt to be in the animal kingdom, since I was also doing agriculture from high school. People don't understand that animals are almost like humans, but the only difference is that they can't speak to you. Just like a baby, You don't even know what a baby wants unless by just looking at their attitude. So same thing with animals. Animals have a tendency, you can't even tell how they really feel. You can only decide how an animal really operates based on how they move. So if they're sick, you know they're not going to move around a lot. So you can detect how animals is by that. Typical routine during the morning is that we'll try and check on our animals as the first thing. Reason being, you're not here for approximately 12 hours, so you need to know what happened over that time period. So you do first thing, check your animals. After doing that, you try to get your food preps and also try your best to get animals their food on time because they're in captivity. It's great, in my eyes. You have your ups and you have your downs. You have a time you don't really like working with people. To be honest, it's very easier to work with animals than working with people, honestly. But to tell you, you have your rough times, especially when you have dangerous animals such as the lion, crocodiles, the ostrich that on and off due to mating season. You know, they'll attack you during mating season, so you have to try your best to be on guard on that. So, yeah, and you have to be very vigilant when you're working with the animals also. And it also helps to increase your capability to pick up on, let's say your observation skills. Very good at that. Over the years, I get the chance to work with many different types of animals till I get the chance to be working with the most dangerous sets now. And I'm also set to be the head keeper here, so I have to really know much about them. Also when they're on and off in their seasons. Well, I've been attacked by various types. As I've said, I work with a lot of different types of animals here. I got bitten by iguanas. I got charged by a deer. Well, I got a good amount. But to be honest, the thing is that when you look back at it, it's an experience. So you just have to learn from that and move on. I've worked with many different types of animals and on and off, sometimes they have a good, sometimes they have a bad, but at the same time, same level of respect goes straight with the animals. Just like how you treat a child, the same way to treat an animal. Reason being, it's still alive. So you have to love it.
School tours are prominent at Hope Zoo, and according to Saddam, school children are always excited to see the animals. But there is a problem.
Some are more excited to see the most dangerous sets, also the largest set of animals. But the biggest problem I really have with them is that most of them don't really pay attention towards the real history of the animals. So they come and they'll be asking you some questions that you maybe find really not the best, but you still have to answer it anyway, about why the animal is not moving around, why the animal is not doing these type of tricks. Yes, but the main problem is that some of them don't really look at, say, what you see on TV is not really the same thing as you see in the wildlife. So that's the main problem. We really need to start with the adults before we can really take down the kids then. Because there are many teachers that don't really know much about animals and, you know, they're the role models. And if they don't understand anything about the animals, then you're not going to expect anything better from the kids. Because the same thing you push on to them is the same thing they're going to explode. So we have to start off with the teachers then we try and grab the kids. Animal cruelty is the same thing as human cruelty. That's how I see it. Reason being, animal life is the same value as our kids. So if you're going to kill an animal, that means you're really going to kill out our kids same way. Because it's a species. God made it. We have to love it. Well, I respect the fact that people say we have some animals that are not really cared for. We understand that. People don't really love animals in Jamaica that much. But at the same time, we still have a couple of people that will try their best to really increase the level on that.
Hope Zoo is a place that can teach children to be kinder and more patient. And we are launching a curriculum and we hope that corporate Jamaica especially, but it doesn't have to be, it could be a family, anybody who remembers the zoo what it used to be, that we can now share it with our children and come on board and support the zoo so that we can share it for the generations to come and not let the zoo die again.
Hello, my name is Damar Hutchinson. I'm the CEO and founder of Traveler Taxi and Tour Services. Well, Traveler Taxi and Tour Services is a full-scale transportation provider throughout Jamaica. We offer taxi services, we offer bus services, we offer private charter services, we offer contractual transportation services. Travel and Taxi and Tour Services was started in November 2016 as a small transportation company, leaning on my father's experience of years of experience in the taxi industry, realized the opportunity to grow that taxi service and putting it to the market as a full-scale transportation service. This is our first year actually setting up a booth here. We have been coming to the JBDC Expo as a Patreon, just learning, and now we actually get the opportunity to actually set up a booth here. Well, we participated to learn from the anatomy of how businesses develop, because we have been growing, and we need to know more about how to grow our business, to develop the brand, to go to market in a more professional way, and to get the market and carry it to our home. At Traveler Taxi, we are licensed by the Tourist Board, so you find that our drivers have to do the Team Jamaica training, have the professional appearance. We have to keep the standard up to the Tourist Board to keep the customers happy, to keep the tourists coming back and representing brand Jamaica to the world. Traveler Taxi and Tour Services is really different in an event where we actually put in the creative, we're mixing the creative industry with the taxi industry. So you find that we actually being creative with our marketing, creative in how we actually go for customers, how we actually excite our customers. We have stuff like Magic School Bus coming out for school bus pickup. Like, we have a lot of fun stuff in the pipeline, and we actually coming to the market fast. Traveler Taxi and Tour Services is open to persons coming in as investors, contractors, or drivers. Persons can come in and be a part of the movement. We are actually coming with a new innovative way to take over the market. You should be a part of the Traveler movement. You guys can find us on Instagram at Traveler Taxi, and then you can check out our website at travelertaxi.com. We are located in Portmore, 22 Passage Fort Drive, and our number is 876-512-2324.
Having a corporate event, seminar, awards show, conference, products launch, workshop, or expo? Business Access TV is here to showcase your event. Contact our sales department at 908-0919, 906-6357, or 908-2775 for more information. Business Access TV, serious about business.
Violence is bad. Violence against our innocent little children is terrible. Pretending not to notice when we know or suspect that a child is suffering is awful and morally wrong. In the words of the great Nelson Mandela, there can be no keener realization of a nation's soul than the way in which it treats its children. Think about that for a second. I have a voice. It's one of my gifts. I intend to use it on behalf of our children. No more violence against